Okay, here's the batting order. Where's Denise? Oh, we can get it next. Okay, so Denise was actually next, but that's all right. We'll pick her up.
Or comments?
The issue of Denise asked, well, is it questions or statements? Look, you can do what you like, really. I mean, if you want to continue to ask questions, that's fine. If you want to actually make your statement at this point, that's fine too. So you know, we just need to keep moving it forward. And so, if you want to make a question and a statement, that's good. Denise, you're on.
All right. Well, in that case, I'm going to be on the statement side of things. Today should be a simple ratification, and in my mind, that does mean how you voted last time is how you vote this time. But unfortunately, we are operating in an atmosphere or in a realm of lack of trust and wariness around the leadership and a leadership that's not valued. Unfortunately, that is the realm in which we're operating, and we've also got high revaluations to boot. So this is precisely the time where we should carefully bring ratepayers with us. Instead, we have a targeted rate that's severely lacking visibility. We had unprecedented feedback numbers, and it was interesting that the Auditor General raised that. Unprecedented feedback numbers, a fantastic consultation process, but no one had the script for this targeted rate. And I mean literally, as we sat round in those Have Your Say events, no one had the script referring to a $99 targeted rate.
That's right.
So what we've got now is a gradual cottoning on of what the impact of this is. And I'd suggest that the 6 who wrote the letter to you, Mr. Mayor, cottoned on after the vote as to what the raw impact would be, and that's exactly what's going to happen to ratepayers. A gradual, continual cottoning on of raw impact. Our own rates relief communications plan, which we're getting a little visibility or a little storytelling over, that alone will trigger people to cotton on the impact of rates for them personally. We've had some figures internally as to those who will be contacted in regards to a $1,000 or over increase this coming rated year. $1,000 is a lot of money. That's not taken into account.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Are we asking questions or debating at this stage?
No, Councillor, it's okay. I've given an instruction, and that is that if you want to debate or you want to ask a question or do both, you can at this time. Right? It's okay by me.
Which he covered just 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes ago. So those who are facing over $1,000 in increase in rates this year, we need to, in all instances, think through the mind of a ratepayer. What is that for them? That's a small renovation. That's school fees. For grandparents, that's their entire Christmas shopping budget for the whole family. That is impact. There is no two ways to look at that scenario. Raw impact. I resent losing my attempt for my amendment at a 20% rates cap. It was the least that we can do, could have done, in these circumstances. So simply put, given that, and I agree with the CE that this is not a day to debate content, I remain consistent. My vote last time was no, my vote today is no.
Well said. Councillor Dick.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just have a question, and I'd like to reserve the right to speak. And this may be helpful, but when the consultation documents were sent out, it referred to a flat, the possibility, and I acknowledge that it wasn't well notified, but there was a reference to a $58.99 flat fee. So my question to you, Mr. Mayor, is where did the suggestion of the $99 flat fee come from, which was provided at such a late date, and I think that gave many of the councillors cause to rethink their support for the budget. I know that, so I wonder if you'd just like to explain where that $99 exclusive of GST came from, $114 inclusive of GST, because that was never referenced in any documentation that went out. But it did appear at the 11th hour, it seemed to me, and I would certainly like to know why that came up, where it came from, and why that was, where that came from, is basically my question.
Councillor Quacks, when it became evident that we needed to look at some other alternative, because it was going to take us a while to go through the discussion with the government in terms of Marawa network charge or regional petrol tax, it would take us 2 or 3 years. We had two choices. Take the 2.5% rate increase, that's good. Or, and then on top of that, well, are we actually going to do anything with the basic transport plan? And are we going to actually put an advanced transport plan in place? And the only way we could do that, and do it in a sustainable way, and do it in a way that wouldn't breach the borrowings caps, was to look at what type of figure would deliver us reasonable cash up front, so that we could do it without borrowing excessively. And so the issue of the $99 levy was the one that suited that profile best. If you're going to have a levy, look at all the options. And so, of course, going back to the 7th and 8th, we went through all of those options. We could have gone to any number of other options, but that was the one in particular that managed to deal with the issue of how much debt you'd take on, what you would pay for up front, and what would assist us in raising our share of the $523 million over 3 years, while we went through a broader debate with the government. So, look, it came in, of course, at a point in time where I needed to introduce it as an extension on the budget or not. And at that point in time, you know, you could have just said, no, we don't want it. Or you said, yes, we do, we'll have a debate around the couple of options, had that debate, and the decision was made. And,
all due respects, Mr. Mayor, that option was never, ever consulted on, the $99, and you've made reference now to this as a 18-month process that we've gone through, and yet it's the 11th hour that we came up with the $114 flat fee per household. And you know, that to me shows poor management decision-making.
Yeah. Councillor, you disagreed with it.
Absolutely.
That's fair enough.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Councillor Quacks asked specifically who, and we all know who, but for the public record, we need you to tell the public who, which individual came up with this $99 transport targeted rate, not why we need a transport targeted rate.
Give us a break.
Come on, be
What an
honest.
inquisition.
Be honest.
You've been silly.
Come on, be honest.
Look, you've been ridiculous. Now,
See,
look,
tell us. Tell the public who.
Yeah, Councillor Cam.
Not why.
It's okay.
Who.
It's okay. Okay, so one of the things that we have done over these 5 years thus far.
Doctor.
Not why. Who.
Doctor Who.
Be honest.
Doctor Who.
And they have the numbers, they said.
Yeah, who? Who was it?
Have you finished? Thank you. What I do like about the work that we've done thus far is over the last 5 years we've actually put together Auckland Transport. We have put together and continue to receive strong advice from the organisation in terms of transport. We've got our own finance team. We've got my council staff who work in and around the space. And so in the end, it was me working with a collective of council officers, both within the organisation, outside, and of course within the organisation, led by the Chief Executive Officer.
Oh, come on.
Now, so in terms of the options for us. That is how the final proposal was put together. And look, that is not dissimilar to how we've been able to bring together the work over 5 annual plans now, is basically for my role as the Mayor to bring the budgetary proposal forward. One, all of the work we did together through that 18-month period, listening to you all, listening to the organisation, and then bringing together, having consulted with the community, a proposal as a consequence. So, Councillor, I'm not quite sure what you're trying to elucidate, but that's it, and it's been no different for 5 years. It's basically, by and large, a collaborative effort.
Yeah, right.
All right. Councillor Wayne.
Sure. I was one of those 6 councillors that signed that letter that you got shortly after the budget debate on the 7th and 8th of May. And the purpose of that letter, certainly on my part, was to try and bring things to a head so that we could address a number of issues, specifically around the transport targeted rate. We weren't happy with it then, and we're not happy with it now. My belief is that it's possible to still have those transport projects, and I don't think there's any issue about the projects themselves, without having a transport targeted rate. We've been told by the Chief Executive, and I think by the Officer of the Auditor General, that it is possible for us to revisit this long-term plan almost immediately after we've passed it. The question I've got, and this is a question, is can we do that? Secondly, if our consultation has been comprehensive enough that it covers off the option of not having a transport targeted rate, and I'd suggest that that consultation does cover that off, then surely we are in a position to make a call at another meeting, an extraordinary meeting, that no, we don't want the transport targeted rate, but yes, we can fund those projects through other means.